just in weeds now. Temperature change.
Can't wait.
Comes back.
Your eyes right there?
What?
Is it in your eyes right there?
Not right here, not now, and maybe here in a bit.
You know, he goes weekend. That's all goes. That's what I'm on. And those boxes, talking about the, but they're, I just buy the boxes, man, that crap is so good. I love it. Shrimp.
Hey, let's go ahead and get started. And, 'cause I remember the last time we were here, we talked about, having the city engineer look over all plans. Albert Riggs is here. And so he's, can give you his analysis of everything, and he may answer any questions. Yeah, go ahead, go over your project.
Sure. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at that report. Basically, we evaluated the developer's proposal for their drainage interior subdivision. All that was adequate. And then also looked at the total drainage basin that is flowing down to Lloyd Henderson and across the drainage ditch at Lloyd Henderson. The constriction point, basically to sum it up, the city's infrastructure from the receipt of the subdivision drainage improvement, so that's a channelized ditch just north of the lift station, if you know where that is, on First Street. From there to Lloyd Henderson would need to be channelized. That ditch would need to be channelized, and you would need to replace a driveway culvert with a larger box culvert, and then replace the two steel double culverts crossing Lloyd Henderson with a larger box culvert. And so those have been sized. Basically, it's 300 CFS. That's all based on a 25-year design. So 25-year storm event. Anything above that, it would be inadequate. And that was the design basis used. I did look at, if you look at the flood elevation, the 100-year flood elevation of Cypress Bayou, it's roughly 220 for a 100-year storm event. There are existing lots, I don't know about homes, but there are existing lots in phase 1 and phase 2 that are at or below that 100-year flood event. So if you do all, I guess I'm just saying, if you do all these improvement, it's a design basis of a 25-year storm event to carry all this water past Lloyd Henderson and on out to Cypress Creek. Any storm event above that is still subject to issue. So I don't think y'all have an ordinance, specifying a developer to use a certain design basis. 25 years is pretty standard, so it's not that it's not standard, but because if you get to 50-year, 100-year, it becomes excessive. So 25 years is a standard for drainage improvements, but it's with the caveat that you can have above a 25-year event 2 times in a decade. So it's just so everybody's on the same page about what to expect with improvements. The improvements, so that's 2 box culverts, also a widening of the turn radius at First Street. The mayor asked for that, anticipating more traffic and potential semis. So we would extend that box culvert on out, widen that turn on Fur and to Lloyd Henderson. And we're estimating total project cost, construction, we're estimating $250. So that's conservative, we're coming under that. But bids have been crazy of late, and material costs continue to escalate. So it depends on when it's bid, but $250 with engineering and survey, we're looking around $280,000 for total project cost.
Okay, now that gives us the time frame of it would take for all of this to happen and how it should happen in relation to the phase 1, phase 2 project.
Right, before any, so basically it needs to happen in congruence with the subdivision drainage improvements. Because what he's gonna do is come in and channelize that drainage improvement through the subdivision. So that's gonna increase the peak flow coming to your infrastructure, coming to your ditch. And so it's only, if you don't do the improvements simultaneously, it's only gonna exacerbate the peak flow coming to your ditch and exacerbate any flood issues until these improvements are made. So for that reason, you really need to mandate that I guess that he follows your schedule as far as the drainage improvements for the subdivision not being completed prior to the drainage improvements that you do on your infrastructure. That
Which
makes sense.
time frame for a city drainage improvement?
I mean, right now, we have to design, so we have to get a survey, and I would say anticipate 2 months for the survey, and then design, I would say 3 months. And actually, you're not gonna be able to construct through the winter anyway. So you're kind of, as long as you bid by spring, so you can start construction when it dries up some next summer, or June. As far as construction time frame, 3 months, I think is adequate. But, so that would put you, say if you bid it in late spring, so May, and you award, and you start construction in June, July, then you will be finishing up in September, October.
So could we bid it prior to that?
You could, I don't know that you would be able to work adequately, given the typical rains we get, the wetness that's gonna be around there, trying to channelize that ditch and do all that. I think it would be problematic, so I would suggest planning on starting construction sometime June of next year. I mean, you can do it, but it's gonna raise the cost, so there'll probably have to be some bypass pumping, some additional constraints put on the contractor if you want to do it during the winter. I mean, they'll just put that in the bid. So if we want it bid and done, say over the winter, you can do that. It's just gonna be more difficult, more costly. Unless we have a dry winter.
You get a question.
I do have a couple questions. So you just 6 feet wide in the bottom?
Yeah.
You feel confident about that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's 4 feet,
Yes.
4 feet, 6 feet wide, 4 feet deep. So,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then another question. So my design, so to speak, is approved. But we can set an elevation in where I'm gonna start my elevation to where I'm gonna finish. I can go ahead and start work, right?
oh, well,
As long as it-
no, I think that the issue is any work that you do without the city doing the improvements that are needed to receive that, that's gonna be the problem, is you're gonna increase the peak storm flow. You do have a storm event, say you get your work done, the city's not done, then it's gonna reduce the time of concentration. All that water is gonna be channeled to that point quicker. So the peak storm event, say even a 10-year, the peak flow is gonna go way up based on the work you're gonna do. So that's why it needs to be done kind of in congruence with the city's improvements. I don't know what your schedule, what was your proposed schedule
Start next week.
for the channelization as well?
Yeah, I mean, clean out the dish, shake it up, pour the coffee. I mean, it's the same amount of water, I get what you're saying, is you get there faster and then pull up and tear down and stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna increase the peak flow, which means it's gonna back up more in that area from Lloyd Henderson up. So if you do all your channel work, it's gonna increase that, so it's gonna raise that potential flood risk
I get
to
it,
all
I
those
get what you're
lines.
saying. I don't know, what you guys thought on that? I mean, I'm ready to go. Right, out of front.
Well, I mean, part of it is you have to be aware of I mean, you can design your improvements, but you have to be aware of what you're emptying into. So if they can't handle it, I mean, that's just, that's part of the issue, right?
I get it. Is this something temporary we can do? So can we? Just put over in of the ordinance, see more water. Driveway working out or something like that, working to see what I'm gonna do through the winter and then next spring. See, tag on.
There's really not, I mean, I calculated the current culvert across Lloyd Henderson is roughly 50% of what it needs to be for a 25-year design. So you're talking a significant.
Yeah, you get all that. And still you have all that.
Yeah, you'd have to do both, and then also if you leave it a grass swale, you're gonna have to do it all, because leaving it a grass swale is not gonna carry, So you're basically gonna, if you're doing all your channel improvements, that channel needs to continue down the city's ditch, and then 2-box culvert.
What we do?
I think you put $200,000 up in an escrow account, correct? You know, not a performance bond, but put up 200,000.
Absolutely.
And did your estimated cost coming in around 200,000? Since we, sent an email out stating that I thought your responsibility would stop at your property line. And you could pick up from there on. So I think your 200,000 is probably going to be a real tough figure in your bids. Where you had 2 bids.
Yeah, and one was $6,000 cheaper, still 200,000. That question to you. And I'm not testing you anyway. Do you realize the property line goes on South Third? How much of South Third was included in this?
Well, I mean, I have what you showed on this plan, but it really shows what I anticipate part of the city. Actually, I think it even says city. Well, actually, this is where it's shown as regrade side swale, which is going to be inadequate. So that, I think, looks like you were proposing to regrade the ditch on First Street for a ways to Baldwin Drive. Yeah, so from where your concrete ditch is, we need to take concrete channel all the way down to culverts. So that would still be, so you could, this needs to change the concrete to match what the city's gonna do. Or y'all can talk about where you want that, their scope in and y'all.
Yeah. So, okay, I just didn't think you thought the city had all South Third being on the water, but it's being from my South Third.
Well, yeah, well, it's still okay. You still got the whole drainage area. So it's like 250 for the acre drainage area. That's all coming to that one culvert on Lloyd Henderson.
Nathan, are you going to the back of the property line closest to the pump? Or are you stopping at the second road in?
It's really
So you're going to the back of your property line on that lot?
Yes.
All right.
What is the spec width? Yeah.
That would be 400 foot.
Same area, we don't have.
So road.
Yeah,
It's actually 195.
Yes. Yeah, the problem is it's grass. So
So any work that would be done prior to work performed with Roy Commission would be more likely to filtrate to this station.
Yes, it's gonna be more likely to increase the flood elevation of any storm event. It's gonna get all that flow to the discharge point faster through the subdivision, and therefore it's gonna act up quicker and raise that flood elevation, whether that's a 10-year then or 25.
Where that's a good concept. Reconnect with this.
Yeah, we can accommodate. We don't have a survey yet, so I just went off through our field side measurements. Now, we can accommodate a 6-foot ditch. And it's a 1-to-1 side slope, so it's not it's only a 16-foot total width. We can accommodate that. And also accommodate this.
I think Tim Lemons designed for a 2-foot depth height, right?
Yeah, 2 foot stem wall, but the ditch was deeper.
Right. But on the part we're going deeper, 2-foot, 4-foot instead of 2-foot with a 6-foot bottom, rather than like 12-foot 2.
Yeah, we couldn't fit 12 foot in there, for sure. Yeah, that ditch is already deeper anyway, so.
Is there something, Mr. Mayor, we can do possibly just to get us through winter, maybe add a cover on fire? Just make sure if we can get a wet spot, we don't get water in these houses. I don't know how to do that.
I don't really think you're gonna have, you're not gonna be able to add just a small home really accomplish anything. And if you spend that money, it's really just kind of a cost for no benefit. If you go ahead and put in a loss holder, that would help before you even did the channelization, but it's not gonna be adequate to meet the 25% without channelizing that whole ditch, taking their concrete all the way down to loss holder. That's kind of the issue that so you have to get it surveyed, designed, bid.
And then do it, turn around, and do it again. It wouldn't be feasible. You'd have to do it twice, essentially. Be a lot of money spent.
Yeah, there's not really a stop gap you can put in to accommodate. You need to know the capacity.
We just cross the fingers this winter.
That's kind of what I was just fixing to say. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
I mean, we can't just say we can't do it right now. You know, you can't say you can't do it right now, but just because of the fact that we don't know if it's gonna rain or not. I mean, this has been a really, really dry summer. It could start it down for next week and not stop until January. Then again, it might not rain or drop. So, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't go ahead and start the bidding process and everything, get everything surveyed and done now. Then if it rains, it's rains.
How's that work? How will that work?
That's fine. I mean, you still may end up not having it done until next summer. But I mean, it's possible you guys can get it done. But you're gonna have a lot of rain delays in the contract. Dave's not gonna be able to work and accomplish it. So even if we get it did, you may, like I said, we may look out and have a dry spell through the winter and maybe get it done and it's finished, but it's very possible that you do it all and you get it bid and then you go ahead and say, okay, start construction. But there's so much rain delay that it can't work. So that's gonna be the issue. And it's also probably gonna escalate the bid price, because if they're having a plan, so if they're having a plan on getting it done, let's say they give them a 4-month contract time, they gotta have it done by a certain date, and that's over winter. They know it's gonna be continuous spring, they're gonna have to bypass pump and try to do what they can to get this over the place installed. It's just gonna calculate the price. They understand that the predicament. It's just, we're not, we're past the year of construction at this point. We're going to not so favorable.
Whether it's a design time, survey time, that bid time, or even at the best.
I think, yeah, 5 months on that is probably, get in hand. 5 to 6 months.
So, in your opinion, if city does nothing until, well, they begin the process, but they do the construction, drawing, the design, survey, the bids, and you go ahead and issue 30 permits, and they build 30 houses without any drainage work at all. What's the scenario with that?
And you're gonna increase any flood event, you're gonna increase the level of that flood water. Because you're gonna increase the peak flow coming to your ditch. So they do all their improvements through the subdivision. That's gonna take all that flow, channelize it, and increase, plus they're gonna be building houses and raising lots. So that's gonna increase the runoff, and you're gonna reduce the time of concentration. Get all that water faster. So that's just gonna exacerbate the flood. Now, how much depends on how many houses they build. And like, if you don't have a big storm event, you probably won't. And you probably won't have a 25-year storm event. But you don't know, you may have a 100-year storm event this winter or next spring. So, and you already have an issue. All it's gonna do is exacerbate it. But I mean, you know, you already have an issue. So, separate way. You didn't talk to a lot as far as you're asking people consequences of that. I mean, it's not in a flood map area. It's not in a floodway or flood zone. It's close. So there is no, you don't have to do any kind of letter map or anything to change flood elevation. But we know document changing flood elevation.
I think Nathan already said, oh, you could build 30 homes in 90 days. Could be constructed out there.
Probably good. But, I don't expect that, that's realistic.
I wouldn't expect to build that big in that amount of time.
Yeah.
We can get the best out. So.
Basically, it comes down to what they're proposing to adequate to handle that the stormwater proceeding is just, it's exacerbating how fast it gets to you, and therefore it's gonna cause more of an issue now with the ditch from where they get into all the way out of the way. So that's the issue that we figure for this simultaneously. Or accept the risk of it.
How many homes down there could potentially flood? I mean, could it potentially get into, say he does his improvements and we don't, and then we have a 25-year, how many homes along this path could possibly flood?
I don't know, we didn't look, so we didn't, I mean, we don't have a max elevation saying this is 25-year event. Because it depends on that water thing, so basically, yeah, if you want an actual flood elevation, you take 100 years, that's all you have now. That we back that out, but it's not, I always say it's not exactly. I don't know, y'all had it before, how else put it before, it would be the same difference, and potentially, yeah.
So the water would still back up into the subdivision. more, is what you're saying.
More water would. Just waste more water, with lots of.
Yeah, the distribution point is right there. I mean, also the driveway don't work for the itself, but the main distribution is right there, that will more.
Until we fix that road, there's nowhere for that water. Not at a rate fast enough to there's only flood, displace more water.
Let's say that other improvements. Are we saying when we're done all that water, it's gonna flood? Why would it, if we did the improvements, why wouldn't?
That, the ditch out there is wider. It looks like they got work on it recently, so, we can't watch some of it. Yeah, and that, so you, once you get it through the culvert. then it's all out. Or the 25.
Yeah, I mean,
You get some back water, it's the highest.
yeah. What we're gonna do here.
If you're requesting building permits and willing to put up money, but
Can I ask, what has the city, how, what's been your response to the previous one?
We pulled building permits. But
Yeah, that's the whole reason why we're here right
that's
now.
what we're here.
We
We already
can't
pulled
get a
building
building
permits.
permits.
As
So-
far as money, liability. I haven't had any issue with that, from a legal standpoint.
well, there've been some houses that have water in them. And at that point, I have the documentation that city, the subdivision was upside down for bankruptcy and went back to the bank and the city put up for building permits until all this was addressed in that area.
Yeah, so we can't really answer the
The-
question. How many more houses might be affected? Could be none, but it's definitely gonna make.
The city went one step further and put on all of their building permits, certificate of occupancies, that, and it was based on the fact that we had this issue, that the city, would not be responsible for any flooding, and that the permits and certificate of occupancy was not a guarantee as to how it would flood or would not. That it was, each permit and each certificate put out by the city. As that.
Right, and that's, I mean, you can't guarantee anything, and you don't even know how big a storm it is. So. That's where you have to make a decision. All we can say is it will exacerbate the issue, whether or not that should prevent you from work until you do simultaneously. But from an engineering perspective, it's only going to exacerbate it. If there are doing something. Or alternatively, y'all can be yours first. Because you need to start at the problem before you wake up.
So, Nathan, when were you talking about possibly wanting to get phase two? We had 60 lots in phase two, right? think it's, yeah, good question. I think it's phase one. Trying to improve the drainage, possibly correct. Phase two. We have to get the funding done, preliminary plat, you know, for the final plat. So the agreement that we have for corrections for this would need to be tied to phase two preliminary and final.
So, when I get permits, so we get it.
No, I'm not, I didn't say that, I was saying that probably likely for the final plat was finished on phase two, all of this work within the side of the subdivision, but you would be responsible.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's really honestly, it's a two-week project.
Yeah, I was trying to be, make sure we don't say that.
Yeah. That's okay, that's gonna do it. Do all phase one and down for the south parking lot too. I understand what you're saying too. Us got bid, design, and then. Survey, before you get started. I get what he's saying. Support it. I'll take whatever steps you want to do on. Move forward.
I was kind of hating we're in this situation where, I mean, I really want to allow you to start your work, build your houses, bring people into the city, but I do not want to flood out the people again if we have a big storm and we can't handle the water. I mean, we're kind of in a catch-22 here where we're fixing to either make you mad or make them mad. There's really no situation where we can make everybody happy right now.
I think that's gonna work.
I don't know.
13. 13.
Okay.
Well,
And I'm glad.
I'm not saying all the way in the house. I'm saying it was there.
Yeah. 2013 is. So now you're in perspective, how often maybe it may happen tomorrow, it may happen 5 more years. We don't know, but the last time it happened was 2013. And it only got in a couple of houses that are on sitting on the ground in those low lots. There's nothing I can do about that. I mean, I understand putting more road costs going to use more water. But moving forward, we fix the ditch and we set a bid elevation, benchmark of 222, whatever. That's no house in the road below that. And it can flood out the ditch all at once. But it won't get in the house. Does that make sense?
What's gonna get in the house that's already there? It could.
Yeah.
And but if he was saying, it could potentially, yeah, it would do that anyway, but was you not saying it could potentially be worse? And getting different houses?
Potentially, yes.
That's the thing right there.
Yeah, if he doesn't work out, the city's work.
You could potentially flood those and then more. You bring other houses that wasn't in the equation is what he's saying.
No. There's no more water. There's no more water. There's no more.
You're moving water downstream that has nowhere to go.
Exactly.
So it's gonna back up. That's his whole point. So you're moving more water downstream.
I'm not losing water, same thing, no water.
If you're displacing water by grading rooftops, you're putting more water downstream. I'm talking about displacing water.
So you're gonna reduce the infiltration, so you're gonna get more total water, but at the same time, the main problem is reducing, instead of it being spread over this amount of time, you're taking all that water this amount of time to that ditch. So you maybe say it took 30 minutes before, now it takes 15, it's all channelized, selecting everything, plus you got more rooftops, everything's getting there quicker, so the peak flow goes up rapidly, and that's the issue. So the flooding might only, the extra flooding might only last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but
1 minute's too
no
long.
matter if it lasts 10 minutes, increase flooding rate. So the peak flow is the issue, so you're increasing the peak just by channelizing it.
I just don't see that we have an option. You know, we've got an engineer right here telling us that we're going to add more water to the situation until we can do our part. So in my mind, we can't do anything until the city does ours.
Well, not unless you wanna go,
Well,
unless you wanna close the corner road there until the work is done.
if we turn permits loose, it does flood, if whatever. If it does that, then the 5 or 6 that do have houses, who are they gonna point their finger at with everybody knowing what might happen? Where I'm coming from? Are you responsible? If you put 10 new houses over and then it floods because what he said, who's responsible? If,
How much more water are we adding? From 10 hookups?
I'm with you. I'm not saying that, I'm saying if. That's what everybody's saying here, if it happens. Who's
It
responsible?
can't be a measurable amount. I mean, you got 10 hookups.
We didn't
I agree.
analyze it, so, but if we do that, we would say 3-year channelization, even if you don't count the rooftops. Just the channelization, if you take an in factor that's more than 3 times what a channel, concrete channel is, you drastically increase the amount of time, reduce the amount of time it takes for all this water to be collected into point A and discharged in the city's ditch. That's the main issue. Even, say you can build another house, if you channelize that ditch across the subdivision and receives that over the lower part of that drainage area, all that flows down and it gets from where the subdivision starts to the city ditch in less than half the time now. So it increases that peak flow. So instead of being spread out over this much, it's the same volume. It's just got a higher peak and a smaller base.
I got a question for you. So say you get all this water support. Good, I wanted that. So all that water is coming through concrete or sod? Sod. So then once it gets to my ditch, it's just gonna move faster. If I concrete, not even more water, same amount of water. So how am I, it's upstream, it's sod, it's concrete, it moves faster. So I'm not raising elevation or anything, it can only move so fast according to.
The peak flow, that's what we're talking about.
I know,
Peak flow.
but it can't enter any faster because it's going through sod.
It's getting to the restriction. On the ground.
But if I'm.
Well, that's what's gonna cause a higher flow. It's getting all the water there.
Do this. Upstream. Get all this water, 250 acres of water, dump into where I start my concrete, correct? So why don't that water move any faster than this water that comes out? Okay.
But it's not gonna go through Lord Henderson's, what he's saying. That's the
I
problem.
agree,
If it don't
but
go
I
through
don't
them 2
understand why.
pipes and it comes up on the road, it's automatically gonna start coming back. That's all he's saying.
I agree with every bit of that, but it's gotta be concrete from where it starts for him to be accurate.
No. Anywhere in the
I
equation,
don't know.
anywhere in the water drop, yes, the time is the water. You can increase or decrease the amount of time it takes.
Yeah.
If you decrease it, then the peak goes up. It's not important, it's the same volume, and if you take that same volume over less time, then the peak goes up. So that's what you're doing, you're increasing the peak flow that hits that culvert on that given storm event. So that's why the detention pond works, right? Because you're trying to slow it down. The detention pond does that in reverse. You're saying, we're gonna slow it down, and we're gonna take that same total volume, we're gonna spread it out over a long time, so it reduces the peak flow of that culvert.
All right, I got a question for you then. This just popped in my head. We ain't gotta go with but I just wanna throw this out there. You were talking about a retention pond. So in my mind, we have a ditch that's concreted in and it's gonna move that water fast. What if you turn that ditch into a small, not necessarily retention pond, but if you was to put some kind of barrier that with a foot high to slow some of the water from just rushing and where it would like kind of spill over, almost like, I don't know what the scientific or the correct term would be, but you know what I'm talking about, how you would put like some kind of, where it didn't flow out of it as fast as possible.
Well, you can't do it there, but yes, because you're just gonna have the same issue. Right? Flood again after this, so you have to do it somewhere in the middle of the watershed. And we actually, the mayor asked me to look at a detention pond on the north side. There's city property up across from Oakley's. The problem with that is the cost is pretty extreme, and it's on the river, it's not a single line of the watershed, you don't get it. So that's the issue there.
I just wondering, I just wanted. So do we need to have a motion to start getting the bids and stuff for what comes first?
Survey design, engineer.
I think that you would need to have a motion to hire salt engineering, now bring to begin the process of repairs to Joy Henderson and repairs along First Street.
So moved.
Second. That would be understanding that we're not getting up building permits until these are started.
You determine what you're gonna do. You're always confirming it. Nobody knows. Everybody's guessing. Nobody knows. When they start this process, they go right through it, and they give you 30 permits, and everything goes right through. It may not. Again, we may get caught up in rain, and we can't do construction until actually summer. And nobody knows that. I know people want to sell lots, and I know that there's an issue. See, we're building a house, buying a house, I want to be buying anywhere. Possibility.
Saturday,
Uh,
You said eventually, there's more out there.
we don't know. We've done everything as far as correction. We believe through 3 engineers that this will solve phase 1, phase 2. In the future, now you talk about, you may want to talk about that for a second. Additional developments in that area may require some sort of ordinance from the city of low water, you said, and maybe retention or detention areas to stop the flow, slow the flow as more developments go.
Right, so, I mean, you get required in certain problematic areas, so we do this, is that the post-development impact people pre-development impact. So whatever development they do, they have to put measures in place, it's called low impact development. So whether it's course pavements and retention ponds, detention ponds, or other means of reducing the impact of that development on the downstream watershed, that can be done. But it's just a matter of kind of city policy. We don't have an issue in this area, so any development in this area, the post-development flow, peak flow, must equal pre-development peak flow. There's no hydrologic changes. That increases the cost of development.
Yeah, we talked about this, and I think the city is going to future that we have to do subdivision. Probably need to ask this to the engineer to look at to see if there's going to be a problem before we even start off. drainage is something that's never really been addressed in preliminary final plats, in an engineer design.
Well, that'd be good to start with. I mean, I'm just saying, because it's not that you start with, it's what you're trying to do. It goes back when it started. On turn permits loose and let somebody be responsible other than the new house owners or the owners that's there, or we're not. So, I mean, she said, so.
Well, my motion is gonna stand the way the mayor said it was.
What was that?
I said my motion's gonna, my motion ain't gonna include any kind of yes or no on building permits. I just want to get everything started.
Okay. There was a second to that one. Okay, let's go on that.
So the motion is to hire Salt Engineering, Breckenridge to begin the repair work along First Street and Lloyd Henderson. By Alderman Duggar with a second by Alderman Goff.
You mean to go out for bids?
Yes, to go out for bids. Yes.
Engineer process.
Yeah.
It's a better way to state this.
Yeah, I mean, you all want to, you want to see the
I was about to say, let's see what
proposal
that's
first and a schedule, or if you can find, go ahead and do it, or maybe wait. We can give you a proposal that way, so you, your little schedule. I think the big hang up right now is for the survey. Getting the survey done, it's been taking 2 months. Yeah. Covered up. We'll try to get it as quick as possible, but survey and design process, if we can give you that estimate and a proposal for the engineering cost and survey cost. What that first.
So Matt, can we change your motion to read to hire Salt Engineering to begin the process of surveying and designing?
Yes.
Is that good with you, Kyle? Eric, are you still good with that? Mike? Are you with that?
Yeah.
All right. Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Goff,
Yes.
Alderman Mahoney,
Yes.
Alderman Woods, yes. Alderman Lightfoot.
Yes.
Yes, maybe you request, when you request.
Well, this potentially take what, spring of next year?
It's pretty far, so we actually did all the stuff. So.
Yeah, respect to that, I hate to sound really aggressive, but if I could get 30 permits, get all phase one, and put the money in escrow. So, I'll be happy with that. It is something we turn around in 90 days, I would say, you know, 10 months. Whatever it sounds like, the process for survey and bids, and take off. And may outrun permits we've already got approved, so
Then what are we gonna do if we get a lot of rain?
that's what I'm saying. But we've already said last time, we have any house. I'm not asking the city to take risks.
Who's taking
Who's
the
gonna
risk?
take the risk?
I mean, what do you want me to do? I can't take the future. Like, we know, all we know is, yeah, X amount of water going. I handle it, I can't do the work fixing. Hey, last time we went through the ditch and into our house, 2013. What, 9 years? I mean, it may happen tomorrow, it may not happen ever.
But if we give you a building permit, you start building, it's just gonna increase the odds that that's gonna happen again. He just told me that, he's an engineer.
Yeah, he's an engineer, you're probably. But here's the deal, you
You're
got,
not.
you got a 1,400 square foot house, that's out there. Let's say you build 10 houses, so now you introduce 14,000 square feet of rooftop, correct? What do you, 1/3 of an acre of rooftop? Introduce?
It says-
You don't count one drop of that, you don't count one drop of that, that's going into the lot. You're not talking an inch more water. How dare him put it this way?
Well, I've already explained this multiple times.
It is gonna raise the water.
Would you be willing, if we give you 30 today, if any water gets in the house before we complete our stuff, that you would cover the cost of it to repair?
Why would I have to?
Oh, I just asked a question, that's a yes or no.
No.
Okay.
Why would we?
I'm not asking the city to. The city-
Unless who's gonna be responsible, we've already pulled building permits for this one time, for this particular reason. If we give building permits again and these flood, who's gonna be responsible? Me, him, her, him, and him.
What are they gonna do? They gonna sue their-
They can, absolutely.
Okay, so these two curves, let's say these are the same volume, right? So this is the same volume in this curve and this curve. Everybody agree with that, right? You can have a different shape, the same volume. So what he's gonna do, and that's what I'm saying, even if, I agree, as far as the infiltration that you're taking away, it's really not gonna amount, big volume, but it's not gonna amount to much. But the problem is, you're gonna increase the peak that gets to the problem point, which is 40% forward. And if you take this bottom curve and you change it to this curve, then that's the peak flow you get. Now, that's only gonna last for a short amount of time, and that's what's gonna cause that higher flood elevation.
Are you talking rooftops or are you talking?
Yeah, the reduction in time it takes to get
Okay,
that water.
yeah, we're not talking right at this point. So we're talking measuring the difference between 10
I
rooftops.
thought you were gonna go ahead and do change your channelization.
No, I mean, I don't think we do it. The reason why, like you said, it's gonna rush all that water. So it is gonna be long enough ordinance, then all we're doing, the worst of the problem is, introducing, at worst, 10 more rooftops. So you got 1,400 square foot house, 14,000 square feet of water.
Any grade change.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's beyond, I mean, that's how, it's not even real probably worth spending money on doing that analysis, because we don't really know, you have to do wind survey, you don't have a map flood elevation. So it is gonna increase it, that's all we can say, it's gonna exacerbate the problem, how much will exacerbate it, depends on a variety of factors. It's not what time it is.
just in line with what I was saying.
We can sit here in silence all night, but I'd rather go home. So if there's no motion, then it's not. I'm not making that motion.
I'll make it if somebody take responsibility. Without responsibility, I don't see where this goes. I don't mean nothing by that, Nathan, but darn if you do, darn if you don't, if you buy a place over there, I'm not saying it'll raise it anymore. If we're going by what he's saying. Or what?
I mean, I can guarantee you.
I thought we Huh?
I can guarantee you, we'll get in the middle.
Well, you're living over there now. I mean, I'm not saying that.
I didn't live in a home.
I didn't say that. It should have been taken care of before being them was built. I agree with that 100%. I'm not saying it's you. Actually, you the one that got caught in the middle of this.
we've got it looked at a couple of times. Those pipes were replaced down there on Henderson Road once. And the county came in and that time it was supposed to be adequate, but it's not.
What were they? What year were they placed? You know that?
I don't remember, it was after the fact.
Okay. And water has been in the home since those 48 were put in, which is still inadequate. Water has been in the home since then.
For 25 years. You have to pay your design basis. You have, so, you get 10 years, maybe it would be, but you 25 years of it for design basis, so that's not.
No. Chances are we probably had at least one 25-year storm event since 2013. I haven't looked
I would
at it.
figure when we had a river flooding a few years ago, I would have thought that Beebe would have had a 25 years in, but they have been spread out. And it wasn't, because I mean, the problem is how much is coming at one time, how short a period you get that rain. So that probably, we had a long extended rain period, it's causing the river flooding, but I guess it wasn't. And there's no way you could measure, nobody had an accurate rain gauge measuring that watershed, no.
Yeah.
And we kind of went through the same thing at Wood, and that was it's been a disaster, that the benchmark 214, and that didn't work, and they said 217, that didn't work, and then they said 220, and went over the river. Now it's 2.2. That might be- Oh, it's said, time. Don't know what to do with it right now.
In respect to liability for home flood, would it not be the seller that sold the homes? People are living in that.
Did you give that guarantee? Or can get that guarantee, I'm in. But
No, listen, I'm asking. So if I'm a seller, I have to fill out a property disclosure. Say, one question is, hey, the water been in the house. If that seller puts yes, then 99% of the time buyers are right. That tells me that 130 Angel. No. So that home just sold back in June. So you're asking me to step in and assume responsibility for that guy, but no. That loss.
talking about the new places.
I'm not gonna have a water line of that. Plus, the first 10 are all gonna be on 30. Those 2 big hires and one on here. Actually, first. Who knows? Problem is 2 or 3 houses sitting on there. Water got out of the ditch, but didn't get in the house, boom, sit.
Right, I agree with Nathan on the fact that I don't think it would be a problem. One is existing, it's a problem. And that's existing from backwater, going back and can't get out. That's, those houses were built below. Probably the developers are not, getting them complete.
You want to have flood insurance? in that area?
I don't know, I'm a lot higher than them, so I don't think.
None of that's in the floodplain, require
Yeah,
flood
don't
insurance.
Well, yeah, you don't require it.
Duck and bang wing.
Whereas I'm feeling that the city, when, for everyone that's built, the city course. And what Nathan is saying, is it was not a flood, but the construction of all of those, is someone going to come in and say that caused significant amount of water to flood the existing?
I had a lot out of this wonder if it happened. Because we're design and surveying, and bidding. All I'm doing is building. You know what I'm saying? I can't introduce enough, my opinion, I can't introduce enough water to the watershed to make a difference. It's funny.
The only problem is with the lawsuit, you build one house and it don't matter about your opinion, it's what kind of expert they can bring in to try to prove that your one house caused their house to flood again.
I agree.
That's all there is to it.
I mean, that's what I'm bringing, and then, guys one for another one, you know what I'm saying? We had two.
Well, your engineer said yours was adequate. He said it was adequate. But he also come right in here and said something your engineer didn't say, which was, hey, your downstream is not gonna be adequate, it's gonna flood.
We had open discussion about that.
Well, then I'm gonna apologize right now, because I think we should have had our engineer involved a long time ago. And then we may not be here. But unfortunately, this is where we are right now.
We've had several discussions about that. Over 1099 drive, or addressing it.
I'm a mechanic, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know nothing about surveying, water, moving, none of that stuff. Never said I did.
Well, I'm just saying, we've had several discussions, 2 foot by 4 foot. That water.
But I don't ever remember your engineer just saying, hey, y'all gotta do something before we do this,
No,
like he did.
no. Yeah, as far as when the work starts and stops, yes, I agree with that.
Because I was under the assumption that your engineer was like, this is all gonna be gold. And if we would have went ahead and went along with that plan, and then we have a big flood, and then we're sitting here going, why ain't all this water moving out of there? And I mean, your engineer ain't gotta look at our property past that, but he did. And that's where I'm at. That's where he come in. And that's the whole reason why I said last meeting that I wanted to get one of our engineers involved that was gonna look further down the line.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but I wish it would have went your way, but it just hasn't.
We can bring another in, but the design that it's a great question.
Yeah.
And we also said downstream over on the north end, half of what it should be, but it's fine, most of the problem.
I think that's what he just said. That's all of it.
A 2 foot by 4 foot box is used that way.
Yeah, but we know all that, and we've known that from the beginning. We're either gonna get the permits or we're not gonna give the permits. We knew the Lord Henderson was the reason that wasn't draining. I've said that all the time. I've said that's when they put the subdivision in 16 years ago.
We also said that it hasn't flooded since we put 248
That's true.
in, and that still isn't enough. That's only 50% of what it needs to be.
It goes back to the old saying, two wrongs doesn't make a right. So why would we want to proceed and take that chance of homes flooding again when we know that they have before?
Don't know where, let's just make a vote, I'm gonna vote.
The one thing to remind everybody of, I mean, the design, the 25 years is arbitrary. I mean, you can use 10 years, or you could use 30, or you could use 50. So it's all based on the 25-year design story, which is again just a hypothetical again. So you have, I mean, I think the 25-year it's difficult. It's not that it's not difficult. I'm just saying that even if we do all this improvements for 25 years, if it rains more heavier than that, faster than that, then you need space to have footage. So you have a 50-year storm after we do all these improvements. It's not gonna matter. And if you have a 25-year time basis, you have a 50-year storm. I just want to set the expectation. that-
But at least we would be on record as having to try to remedy the problem.
I'm gonna make a motion that we leave the moratorium in place until the city's had time to complete its project.
So,
You don't.
Motion is made by Alderman Jugger to leave the moratorium in place until the city has had time to complete this project. With the second by Alderman Goff. Alderman Jugger,
Yes.
Alderman Goff,
yes.
Alderman Mahoney,
Yes.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Harris Meadows, we talked about the street when they paved the, Blue Street. And I think JR got a price to skim that, those places, and overlay one side of the road. How much was it?
$7,000.
I don't wanna do that without approval. It come up before the next meeting.
Motion to allow the street department to make those improvements.
Second.
Over.
Alderman Jugger,
Yes.
Alderman Goff,
Yes.
Alderman Mahoney,
Yes.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I mean, I'll go ahead and. Okay. Yeah.